Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, today we're in Georgetown in the Cayman Islands. It's an absolutely gorgeous day right now, but we're supposed to get a whole lot of rain later on today, so I'm filming in the morning just trying to get this done before the rain hits, because the camera that I'm using does not like the water whatsoever. And for those of you wondering what camera and gear I use while I'm filming, whether it's camping or traveling the world, it's a DJI Osmo Pocket 3. I got the wireless mic right there, and I'll take a picture of this while we're filming and just put it up on screen for you to see. But speaking about the water, first up here we're talking about Dolphin, which is Nintendo, GameCube, and Wii emulation. And Dolphin has just put out a brand new progress report that I would recommend checking out. If you are interested, like everything we talk about, links will be within the GitHub link in the bottom of the description below. I don't hide my sources. Anyways, this is a big brand new release for Dolphin. So at the time of filming, Dolphin release 2509 is the latest and greatest update. And I do recommend checking out that progress report because there's a whole lot of detail in there and it's very well written. And this release has a whole bunch of stuff in it, a bunch of fixes, performance improvements, and new default settings, and even more. Now there's a whole ton of stuff that's noteworthy in this report. One of the things here I think is on desktop mode, where single core is now enabled by default as opposed to multi-core. Now this may require a little bit of extra processing power, but at the same time may result in a lot less crashes for Dolphin, because many modern PCs are now too good for Dolphin. I mean, they say right here, it's no secret that dual core mode in Dolphin is unstable. If you've ever had Dolphin randomly crash while going into full screen, switching windows, or simply for no apparent reason, you've likely run into a dual core crash. In fact, pretty much anytime someone comes to us with a crash, the first thing we tell them is to turn off dual core. They go on to say in 2025, most of our desktop users have PCs that are overpowered for Dolphin. Now that is really interesting. They didn't remove dual core altogether because it's extremely fast and experimental, and maybe if someone has an underpowered PC they can still use it, but they don't recommend using it. So for Dolphin on PC only, dual core mode is disabled by default. However, on Android, due to the lower powered nature of Android devices, dual core mode is still enabled by default, but you can switch it off if you want. I mean, they say right here, if you are on Android, we realize the situation is a bit different on that platform. With all of the other things that Android users have to deal with, suspect graphics drivers, aggressive CPU governors, and generally weaker hardware, to name a few, we don't think it's time to swap the default there yet. As such, dual core will remain enabled by default on Android for the foreseeable future. And speaking about performance and compatibility, they say here you can finally emulate Toy Story 3, Cars 2, and Disney Infinity on powerful hardware at full speed. And there's even more stuff in here. And on top of that, there's controller improvements and even more. And I'm saying even more a lot here because there's a lot in this emulator update. The Dolphin team made an amazing emulator even better. And they do mention that NSO controllers are still not compatible, but they are still working on it. And speaking about amazing stuff and powerful hardware and arguably things that may not be compatible, next up here we're talking about Red Dead Redemption on Android. Yes, you heard me right. Netflix is releasing Red Dead Redemption on Android, or Red Dead Redemption is being released through Netflix on Android. And it depends on your device here. I took a look and my device is not compatible. So for reference, I do have a Google Pixel 9 Pro XL. Is it the best phone for emulation? Heck no. Is it great for filming? Yes. Anyways here, it doesn't seem that this phone is compatible with Netflix or Red Dead Redemption for Netflix. And taking a look on the Google Play Store, this does include Undead Nightmare for Red Dead Redemption. So they say here on the Google Play Store, also included is Undead Nightmare, the iconic horror story that transforms the world of Red Dead Redemption into an apocalyptic fight for survival against a zombie horde. Available on mobile for the first time, this version features the complete single-player experiences of both games, plus bonus content from the Game of the Year edition and more. However, it does not feature multiplayer content. Again, if you are interested in this one, like everything we talk about, links will be within that GitHub link below. This is currently not available to be played, it's just available to, I guess, pre-order or pre-install. And speaking about new releases, next up here we're talking about Windows emulation on Android with GameHub Lite. And GameHub Lite has a couple of brand new releases. So just the other day we talked about the big update for GameHub Lite, version 5.0.0, and then we talked about version 5.1.0. Anyways, at the time of filming here, version 5.1.3 is the latest and greatest update. this thing is being very actively developed and tweaked. So taking a look at the latest update here, and they say it uses GameHub Lite v4 as its basis instead of version 3. Resolved broken intents with launchers, fixes brightness bug, adds EmuReady compatibility badge back, uses the new EmuReady workers server for better privacy, remove the notification permissions pop-up properly, remove the free game section since it doesn't work anymore, remove the unneeded resources files for services we're not using anymore, and restored the microphone permission for games that require it. And on a side note here, it's also worth pointing out that it seems as if Trixarian from NetherSX2 is also helping out with things. And speaking about helping out with things, next up here we're kind of talking about the exact opposite. We're talking about Nintendo and not necessarily helping out with third-party Switch 2 docks. If we've got an update here, it does seem that more and more people are talking and complaining about Nintendo Switch 2 third-party docks no longer working after the latest firmware update, version 21.0.0. So we've talked about this one in previous videos here, and it does seem that more and more people are confirming it. Some people confirmed in the comments of my previous video. A lot of people have talked about this one on Reddit, and it does seem that most third-party docks are no longer working with Switch 2s after this latest update. No reasoning from Nintendo has been provided, maybe due to power issues. I really don't know here. I'm really curious to see if Nintendo ends up making a statement about it. Now, the easy response here is to just say buy an official Nintendo Switch 2 dock instead of a third party. You never know what you're getting with third party docks. However, and I will say a big however here, the price of a Switch 2 dock, if you want to buy it on its own, is $124.99, basically $125 USD. So it's not necessarily the cheapest option out there if you're looking for a secondary dock. And speaking about Nintendo, next up here, we're talking about the best-selling physical game in the US in 2025. I just said Nintendo, probably a huge spoiler here, but take a guess. If you guessed Pokemon ZA, or Pokemon ZA, I guess, you would be 100% correct. So there's a video on YouTube that I would recommend checking out titled The Weird, Wild, and Unforecastable Games Data of 2025 with Matt Piscatella. It's on Kyle Bosman's YouTube channel, and they do say here that Pokemon Legends ZA is the best-selling physical game in the US this year. That is crazy, but it is worth pointing out physical, not digital, and digital game sales have skyrocketed over the last few years. Unfortunately, Nintendo does not provide digital game sale numbers, but I would be very curious to see what happens moving forward, especially if Nintendo decides to put games onto game key cards, if that ends up affecting physical sales. Let me know your thoughts. And speaking about digital stuff, next up here we're talking about Steam and gaming on Linux and Proton. If you use Steam on Linux, you're probably very familiar with Proton. Anyways here, Proton got a brand new update to version 10.0-3. And this one adds in a whole bunch of fixes and brand new compatibility. Now, we have talked about a lot of this in previous videos because a lot of this was in Proton Experimental and now it's been merged with the stable branch. But anyways, under Now Playable, there's Mary Skelter Nightmares, Fairy Fencer F Advent Dark Force, I'm not very familiar with that game, Far Horizon, Grim Fandango Remastered, The Crew Motorfest, Viking Rise Valhalla, Starlight Revolver, Gemstones, Active War Direct Action, Firefly Village, The Rift Breaker, Ninja Reflex, and Arcan Age. Now on top of that, there's fixes for stuff like DualSense controllers and other hardware, and even more. If you're using Proton, you probably want to check out Proton Experimental or the latest and greatest version of Proton. And on a quick side note here, before we go into the next segment, we're going to be talking about Linux again. But if you're wondering why I'm standing right here with the post directly behind me, there's a really nice piece of shade. Because as soon as I step out, the sun is literally right there. It's a very bright and hot day, which is going to change very shortly, I guess, to rain. Now, as soon as I spoke about it, I did lose that little ray of shade, so I've relocated it again. But taking a look here, next up we are talking about Linux and Proton and the Steam Machine. So we talked about the Steam Machine yesterday, and I said one of the biggest hurdles for that Steam Machine will be anti-cheats. It does seem that a lot of third-party games are using anti-cheats that are not compatible with Linux, and they've got no intention of supporting Linux. They often say that Linux is the source of cheating. Anyways, here it seems that there is hope. So there's a brand new article up on Eurogamer that I would recommend checking out. It's titled, Will Battlefield 6 Work on Steam Machine? Valve hopes its new hardware will prompt a fresh discussion with developers over kernel level anti-cheat. And there is a very interesting quote in it from Valve. So Valve says here, while the Steam Machine also requires dev participation to enable anti-cheat, we think the incentives for enabling anti-cheat on machine will be higher than on deck, as we expect more people to play multiplayer games on it. So ultimately, we hope that the launch of the machine will change the equation around anti-cheat support and increase its support. I'm not going to hold my breath, but I am hopeful. Let me know your thoughts about that one in the comments below, and let me know if you think anti-cheat and a lot of the kernel level stuff will eventually find a way to work on Linux. And speaking about the Steam Machine, next up here we're talking about dbrand, and this has raised a lot of attention, and it is the Companion Cube. So dbrand is making a Steam Machine Companion Cube releasing in 2026, and a lot of people are saying it looks really good, and the detail on this one they're also saying looks really good. I'm taking a look at it, and I think it looks really good and also hilarious. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below, and if you'd be interested in skinning your, that sounds bad, skinning your Steam Machine, applying a skin to your Steam Machine. Let me know your thoughts about that one. And speaking about friendly heads ups about stuff, next up here we're talking about Immortals Fenix Rising. And if you're interested in this game and you have an Ubisoft account, the game is now 100% free in a bunch of different regions. The game is normally $40 USD, and Immortals Fenix Rising Standard Edition I can now see on the Ubisoft store is 100% free. Is the game good? For free, I would say it's probably worth checking out. I played this one, and it's not necessarily my cup of tea, but at the same time, if it's free or if it was just a couple of bucks, yes, absolutely for me. But for everyone else, if you played the game, let me know your thoughts about it in the comments below, and let me know your thoughts about the standard price tag of $40 versus the free price tag. And speaking about free and friendly heads ups, last up here we're talking about RetroArch. Now, we talked about RetroArch version 1.22.0 just the other day. Anyways, now version 1.22.0 is up on the Buildbot website in both the nightly and stable releases. For those unaware of the changes, feel free to check out my previous video where we did go over the changelog, the initial changelog for this release. RetroArch at this point in time hasn't publicly stated that 1.22.0 is available. However, it absolutely is. I'm very excited about this one, and I can't wait to see RetroArch's full published article about it. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Feel free to discuss anything we talked about in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button. Check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate. Save your state.